Hello everybody, my name is Yulia Stadnichuk. I'm the official spokesperson for the International Public Movement's Politics 2.0, and I welcome everybody here on our video devoted to this situation with COVID restrictions in Russia. Please let me remind you that we are in Politics 2.0 movement, viewing everything which is happening from the point of view of Politics 2.0 concept, which implies that each citizen has a right to influence the political decisions directly, and thus we are very practical. We want to know what we can do and how the situation influences us, and how can we improve the situation, change it for the better. It's been quite a lot of time since our previous video, and the situation has changed a little bit, and I found out that really people in other countries do not know what is happening in Russia, how the situation looks, and probably there is some idea that Russia is kind of, sticking to the tradition and trying to fight against this COVID dictatorship and what is happening all over the world. But unfortunately, Russia is really ahead of almost everybody in this, and we really have this QR coding system introduced already. But please mind, that's not the first time that these QR codes are being introduced. They first appeared last year, in summer last year, and they were the drivers had to take these codes to move around Moscow. It was told that thus they are trying to protect us from spreading the disease, and thus everybody had to take these codes. In case you didn't take the code, you got fined by the state, but actually it was quite easy to challenge these fines in court, what actually I did. But still, most of the people got these codes, and to get these codes last year, you had to provide the data like the number of your car, your phone number, where you are starting from, what is the destination, and what is the purpose of your movement, of your going there. And in case you couldn't provide the details, you were not given the code. So that's when it all started. Then the mayor of Moscow introduced this QR coding system this summer of 2021, and it just ruined the restaurant and cafe business in Russia, because these codes were introduced for these public places like cafes and restaurants. And visitors had to take the codes to go there, and restaurants had to check the codes and were not allowed to let people in without codes. They had to somehow think of serving them outside or something like this, but this just ruined this whole business. The 70% of the cafes and restaurants were closed during this QR codes period in summer of 2021. But now we have this system introduced even wider, because right now this QR code system has been half officially stated, introduced by the head of this disease control organization that we have, Rospotrebnadzor. She has no right to do this. According to law, she has no right to invent any kind of QR codes or something, but that's what she did. Mrs. Popova introduced these QR codes and some sort of formula which one has to use to check whether it's allowed to go somewhere without codes or something, or not. But as you know, Russia consists of regions, so each region has its own regional legislation, and every region implements this QR code system differently. So it's really hard to say how far this is going right now, because right now in Moscow, you have to use these QR codes to go to shows and museums and concerts, but you can go, and the shopping malls do not check the QR codes. You can go to shopping malls, and you can use public transport, you can use intercity communications at this moment. As far as I know, some of the Russian regions introduced this QR code system to the transport system, and so people cannot use airlines to travel to other cities from some particular cities without these QR codes. In order to get a QR code, you either have to have a vaccine, or you have to provide proof that you have had this COVID disease over the past 6 months. At the very beginning, when it all started, the codes were promised to be valid during 1 year. But as far as we know now, the code is valid only for 6 months. And recently, the Prime Minister changed this COVID certificate. So initially, once you got the vaccine, you got a certificate proving that you got the vaccine, and those certificates were different in different regions and different medical organizations. Now they introduced some sort of more elaborate document, which really looks like a passport. It has even more data in it than our passport has. And, you know, we in Russia, as citizens, we have to have our internal passport. We have either 1 or 2 passports. One is necessary for each citizen, is our internal passport, and the other we have for going abroad as foreign passports, so-called foreign passports. So this COVID certificates they've introduced recently has even more data in it than your normal passport. So it actually allows to identify a person fully, not just the immune status, so to speak, but just everything, where the person lives, the name, the address, and all the rest of the data. And now we know that they are creating this huge database, allowing all sorts of organizations to collect data about every person into some single specific database, where it will be stored, you know, and classified according to the information they receive. So all the data about a person will be accumulated in one database. Speaking about the vaccination process, people are really not happy with this, but the vaccination process is going like, you know, with a lot of, how should I speak it, they are forcing people to take the vaccine, because we in Russia are normally not, you know, about trusting things. We've had a lot of information about vaccines before, and normally people are okay with having vaccines having vaccines for children. But now the data they are providing us, the information they are telling us, you know, it changes each month. So people are not ready just to believe, because we cannot believe, you know, Putin, we cannot believe the heads of the governors of these regions. So it's not about belief, because there's no ground for believing them. We need data, we need proof, we need more information, and the information we have proves that the vaccine actually does, first of all, it may do harm, and the second of all, it's not even about the vaccine, it's about the rights which are being taken away with this vaccination process. And the people are not ready just to go and get the vaccine, and they are forcing the people to get the vaccine through the employers. What they are doing, they are signing such documents saying that each employer is to have at least 80% of the workers, of the employees vaccinated. And in case an employer doesn't follow these regulations, the employer gets fined. And they sign such documents saying that the employers are allowed to fire people who do not get this vaccine. At the same time, we know that the vaccine is still under the testing process, and the testing process is to take to last until the end of 2022. So it's not, you know, it's not the medical substance that we know the effects of. And that's what they are doing. They are forcing people, because people are afraid of losing jobs. And what the employers do, they simply turn to their employees and saying, in case you do not get vaccinated, you will lose your job. The situation in Russia, in the vast majority of regions of Russia, is, you know, really depressive, and there are not a lot of jobs around. So people mostly work for either state-owned companies or those oligarch-owned companies, which are also close to state-owned. So in case a person loses a job in such an organization, it's not likely that the person can get any kind of job. You know, it's just direct way to poverty and hunger. And we know this is not just something we believe in, but something we know, that nobody's going to feed us, nobody's going to help us, nobody's going to provide food and financial support in case we lose our jobs. So the people are generally afraid of losing jobs, and that is why they go and get this vaccine. Some people really just quit their jobs because they do not want to get the vaccine, but they face this kind of problem of finding a new job because the unemployment level is, it's not that low. Though they are speaking about the unemployment level as being like, low, it's not true, and it's not that easy to find a job, especially if you're not in Moscow or in St. Petersburg. In most of the cities of Russia, it's really very hard. And they are right now introducing a number of some laws which make it hard to have your own kind of farm. So it's been kind of a tradition, especially in Russian regions, not in Moscow, but around Moscow and other regions, that people would have some sort of summer cottage with some piece of land and have some farming there just to feed themselves and maybe sell something to get some more money. But right now what they are doing, they are making this legislation really strict, that it's getting impossible for a person to have even chickens there. So people know that in case they lose their jobs, this is hunger, this is poverty, and not only for them but for their children. And the education is getting more and more expensive, and thus it's not likely that their children will get an education and will get the job. So this situation looks really depressive, and that is what Putin's government is really doing right now. They are introducing they are right now trying to introduce the vaccination for kids, and almost everybody I know, and almost each study I have seen, prove that people are not ready to vaccinate children. Some are ready, but people are not ready because really we do not trust anybody who's providing this vaccine. We simply do not trust them. And actually there is a lot of grounding why we do not trust them. In case somebody tells you that Russians do trust Putin, we do not trust Putin. We know him. We do not trust Sobyanin, we do not trust the governments, this is not the matter of trust. Generally speaking, all the things which are happening in Russia is not about trust. It's not about our kind of warm feelings towards somebody. It's all about some sort of agreement that we thought that we have with the governments. And right now we see that they are, there is no agreement left, and what they are doing, they are, ruling the country towards poverty and even something like civil war. One more question that I know there is the position of the Russian Orthodox Church. The Russian Orthodox Church, led by Patriarch Kirill, and which official position is being published by Metropolitis Hilarion or Metropolitis Tikhon. The Patriarch Kirill got the vaccine, and he was really very pro-vaccination. But we heard a couple of days, I guess it was a couple of days ago, Metropolitis Hilarion said that he strongly supports this QR coding system. And he believes that people without the QR codes, if the people without QR codes are fined, that is okay, and believes this QR coding system really works well, proved that it's effective, and that's why it should keep on going. Speaking about Metropolitis Tikhon, and there appeared rumors recently, that Tikhon is likely to be our next patriarch, God forbid. He really advertised for getting the vaccine. He said that he personally knows the people who developed the vaccine, and actually before it he said that his mother has been working her whole life for this institution which is promoting the vaccine. So he knows the people there personally, he believes them, and he believes that the product is okay. So he really strongly is pro-vaccination. And as far as I know, I cannot tell you for sure because I haven't been there personally, but what I've heard, that really he made all the monks go away from the monastery where he is now, who do not want to get vaccinated. There are only just a couple of people left, so without the vaccine, those who are like, dying of cancer or have some severe diseases. All of the others either have to get the vaccine or leave the monastery. And actually, that's he's recorded a couple of videos with very kind of strict position that in case you tell somebody not to get a vaccine and the person dies, you are in charge and you must be in charge of this. This is your personal sin for making these people die without a vaccine. On the other hand, Tikhon said that he will be in charge in case somebody dies from the vaccine, but there appears a question: how? What does it mean that he's in charge? Will he pay the family? Will he support, the children? This is not likely. But anyways, that's how the situation looks. So we've heard that some of the churches do not allow people in without a medical mask. So medical mask mandate is still on, and it's getting stricter sometimes. And they try to fine people for not getting this, for not wearing muzzles. Some of the churches do not allow people in without these masks. Some of the churches even initiated a program of supporting these vaccination brigades, and that's what they call it. And they've introduced a kind of thing that the people can get a vaccine after they go to church, after the liturgy service. So they just walk out of church and then they get the vaccine right next to the church. That's what's happening now already. I haven't heard about QR codes being introduced into churches as for now, but probably this will happen really soon after the words of Hilarion. So speaking about this QR code system, once again, it's likely that it will be like rolling out and covering more and more spheres. In some regions, so in Moscow you can go to shopping centers without a QR code. In some regions they try to introduce these QR codes for visiting shopping centers. Even if people visited them for food, they couldn't get there without QR codes, and they got fines, and they got some prosecutors' investigations initiated for people who are trying to get into shopping centers and trying to get there without QR codes and try to buy some food. So so we actually are sure that in case nobody stops them, they will keep on going with these QR codes and introduce them to more and more spheres. So you cannot actually what they do right now, they do not accept PCR tests. They are tending to accept only a vaccination certificate or a certificate that you've had the disease, and it expires in 6 months. And if you, for example, are brought to hospital, if you need to go to hospital for some reason, you will be tested there anyway. So in case you have this COVID disease, they will include you into the database, and then in case in case you just don't want to get tested, there's nothing you can do if you need some medical assistance in the hospital. You can still go to medical clinics if you don't need to go to the hospital for some help, and it's okay there, you can get it. They haven't introduced the mandatory vaccination of children yet, but they've started. So they called it an experiment in Moscow. The antigens testing for kids in schools, and not only in schools but also in kindergartens. And there've been reports. The parents are really not happy with this, and they're trying to protest it and trying to go to prosecutors. I haven't heard about court cases, but probably there will be. And there have been reports about children bleeding after those tests, because those tests are taken not by medical personnel, but by teachers who are not trained to do this. But that's what they are doing. And if we just take into consideration how things are going, things are likely to get worse. They will be making it worse and worse, and they are not going to stop, and that's quite obvious. So on the other hand, which is happening, people are not following these regulations really strictly. So you cannot say that everybody is obedient here and everybody is doing what they are told. And this is kind of compensates all these requirements. So you can really you can go attend some events, you can go to some places without masks, you can go by public transport without masks. It is not always that you are being fined for this, and I have the proof by myself after visiting courts. But it's on the one hand. But on the other hand, the regulations are getting stricter, and they are imposing more and more such rules. That's getting really hard. There is a feeling, and we've discussed this in our previous videos, that actually the Russian regime, Putin and his team, wants the people to go on protests. Street protests is not something that works in Russia, because that is why people do not really go on street protests. And we have some influencers, some agents introduced into the how should I put it? Some people are trying to persuade, some of those agents, those influencers, are trying to persuade the people to go on strikes, to go on street protests, to go on kind of street actions, in order to stop these QR codes, to prevent this children vaccination and testing and all that. And that is this position, the position that we should go on street protests, is being supported by media. Is being covered by media. It has media support, unlike like our position, like the position of going to courts and going the legal path. The problem with this going on street protest is that, first of all, it doesn't work and has never worked, and we have never seen any kind of result of any kind of street actions. And the second problem is that this is something which the Russian regime is ready for. They have trained personnel, trained military services to stop any kind of street protest. And we've seen this on street protests of 2019. They never achieved any result. So in case any kind of street action, street unrest starts, this will only lead to persecution of those who go there, of the Protestants. This will lead to zero result, to probably wounds, and to tightening the rules that will only lead to stricter regulations, safety regulations, so that they will be kind of curfew introduced and something like this. And that is why we in Politics 2.0 do not support the street actions. And that is why we regard those who call people to go on streets as instigators, because this will only lead to damage to people with zero result. The only result that there may be is if you go the legal way, if you go to church, if you go to court, if you challenge the regulations, the administrative regulations they have in court, if you challenge the fines you have, and if you occupy a very strong position, because the general characteristic of what is happening, which it's common for everything which has to do with COVID, is that it doesn't go through law. They introduce it through regulations, not through laws. And regulations, it is something which is inferior to law, and regulation is not allowed to contradict the law and the constitution. And all the regulations they have with these COVID things do contradict the laws. And it is really not that hard to see when you start checking the laws. And we still have our legal way of going to courts and escalating the case to international courts. And that is what we are doing in Politics 2.0, and that is the experience we are ready to share. And that's actually the only way to do it, because otherwise, you know, they will call the police, they will call these special services to stop any kind of protest that there may be. May happen, this will lead, you know, to total disaster or to the whole situation. So that is how the situation looks in Russia right now, which is, you know, very not really good, and Russia is not trying. You know, Russia is going this globalist path, and Russia is unfortunately not. Russia as a country, but Russia as the governments of Russia and as the heads of the regions do follow this COVID dictatorship agenda, but with you know, lack of obedience from the nation. So thank you very much for your attention. In case you have any questions, please leave them under this video, and we'll probably be recording further videos and going live, so please stay in touch. Thank you so much, and goodbye.